And we are back.
We are
Looks like we
back.
got a couple people in chat. Nobody who said hi. There's Scepter. How you doing, man?
Scepter.
Good to see you.
All right, I got her.
Howdy,
So it
howdy.
might be a little bit slower than normal to get people in because I forgot to tweet this out myself. So it, it's on the same schedule it always is. I just whatever works. There's Vinny and Cam. So hi guys,
There we go.
welcome in. I'm sure
Merrill.
people will probably trickle in as people realize what the heck's going on. I will. I'll post out a
Well,
link to.
well, let's if they don't have, if they do not, if they are not subscribed with the notification bell, that's on them.
You know what? Sometimes that doesn't work. I've missed several. I've
What?
had several of your streams not notify me, and I knew you were live.
Really?
Yeah, and I
I've
was
never
literally
had that-
looking at your channel on my sub list, and it didn't show you were live.
That's weird because I've never had that issue.
I've had it more and more regularly lately.
In fact, I just got the notification that we're live in my YouTube feed.
Would you say it's pretty reliable?
Yeah, mine is.
I would you say it's as reliable as Mr. Matthews' loving N64? Because
Well,
then that's a hell of a
that's-
lot of reliability.
That's you know,
Hi, sci-fi guy forever. How
I
you doing,
can't-
man?
man, you're putting me on the spot with that one.
Does my hair classify as retro roots? It has some gray. Sure, I can go with that. That works for me.
Hey, fair enough.
Anytime Cuphead is in the thumbnail, I'll watch. Yeah, I was looking around looking for good art to put on the thumbnail tonight, and I was also looking at like various different games with various different art styles to kind of refresh my memory because there's a couple of them that I didn't even see on the first list I found that I probably want to look up anyway to make sure I got the name right. As far as unique art styles that kind of drove the story. And I came across Cuphead, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that already? Right? Because that's
Right.
probably one of the coolest art styles for
I
a
think
video
I
game
even
that I've
mentioned
seen
it
in
the
a long
last time.
I
the
think
last
you
episode.
did, actually. Yeah. It would not surprise me in the slightest. So, we have our show basically is just going to focus around various different art styles of video games that we liked, ones we liked from the past, ones currently we like, ones we'd like to see more of, and how they might impact how you approach and look and feel about a game when you first come into it, and how it kind of drives the story, because the art style can really drive a story and tell you a lot about a game almost as much as anything else in the game when it
Very
really
much.
boils down to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going to get into tonight. But before we get into it, we're going to continue to let people filter in for a little bit
Yep.
and see how everybody's kind of been doing this week. So, Mike, take us away. How you been?
Been all right. Had an interesting weekend. And by the way, to my friend from last week, I just want to say,
You know what? That's actually, I can hear that really loud and clear right now. That's the first time I've really heard that loud and clear.
because I put it right up to the microphone. So this weekend was a very interesting weekend. Not to tell a giant story, but went with the scouts to West Point Military Academy for scout
Carla!
camporee. Carla, sister Carla, and had a great time. Camped, slept in a giant nasty thunderstorm. Hiked 3.5 miles in up a mountain. Hiked 3.5 miles out down a mountain in the rain.
Thank God you're in shape now. That would have been a disaster
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
if you were your old self.
Oh God, yeah. And you know what, man, Seth. You know it's Seth's troop. Seth was a beast. He just killed the whole weekend. I was so proud of him. I told the scouts, all of this is going to make them better scouts. Because now nothing they do is going to match what they had to go through on Saturday night and Sunday. So everything else from here is a cakewalk. So that was my weekend. Have gotten some gaming in, some other, unverified stuff of unknown origin. And
That sounds ominous.
yeah, little stuff I can't talk about. So thank you, Scepter. Want to adopt the 40-year-old. So, but no, overall, It's been a good week. How about you, Mr. Panda?
Well, I got to tell you, as the owner of the channel, Mr. Matthews, where I exclusively be changing everything to N64, because contrary to my previous appearances on here where I said I hated it, I'm outing myself out of the console closet, if you will, and letting everyone know that I love the N64. So many great games. Actually, the only good games are on the N64. So what I do this weekend? I told my friends and family that I'm coming out as an N64 lover. They cried for a while of joy, with joy, tears of joy. We hugged, we cried. It was a very emotional weekend. So that's what I did this weekend. Just a lot of crying, hugging, because I'm an emotional train wreck. Again, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Matthews.
You know, honestly, the N64 has been getting a lot of hate in the last couple of weeks.
I know.
Well, you won't get it from me.
Why?
You won't get it from this guy.
I don't quite understand completely why.
Me
I don't either. I don't get it.
I don't
Hey,
understand.
man. What's up, Zombie? Good to see you guys. So people are kind of filtering in. I was bad about notifying people, so that's partially on me. I didn't really notify anybody appropriately.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I'm terrible today. I was messing around with things on my computer and mostly just being lazy. I'm having trouble kind of kicking myself back into gear to start getting things out and get things done again. So I'm kind of shaking off the procrastination mode that I've been in because I kind of got myself sucked back into Mass Effect 1 again. Because I started booting up the Legendary Edition to play through it again.
The best Mass Effect. I'll just put that out there.
You like one the best?
I do.
I'm not someone that would be against that call. I love one.
I love one, but after a couple of hours of running around in the Mako on planets, I'll admit it gets a little old.
Even the
Mako part.
I'll grant you that one. That I'll grant you.
Play it.
But and I agree with you too.
Like it was designed by a seismograph.
See, dude, like
Fair.
you guys got to play games the way I do. Whenever I need to grind and do things, I'm always drunk.
Okay.
But what I do is I like listen to podcasts and stuff. Like I get that stuff, the stuff I need to get done through the day. I'll do that. That way I'm achieving that, and then I can do the Mako stuff. Or if I'm in Phoenix Rising, I can grind a little bit. Oh, hey, DJC.
Hey, DJC. What's up, Big Block?
Big Block. So you
It's
just gotta
awful.
listen to a good
Big Block.
podcast, man. And do
Well,
that
I mean,
stuff.
it wasn't so much. It was mostly just the tedium of driving the thing on the planet. Not that the experience was boring. It's just it got exhausting trying to climb the side of.
You
the
didn't
sheer
find
mountain.
the controls better in the new edition?
Honestly, they feel about the same. The main thing that bugs me about the Mako itself in Mass Effect is the angle of your turret when you're trying to shoot also changes the angle of how you drive it.
Okay.
And it shouldn't have any bearing whatsoever on how the vehicle drives.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't have anything to do with the directional controls of the vehicle. Like that, that should have nothing to do with it. It should all just either be in a left analog control with the turret being the right stick or something along those lines. Like I just don't understand the concept of it. And then some mountainsides, like they don't want you to climb, and others they will let you climb. So you got to kind of figure out how to kind of shimmy way up certain areas, right? They kind of get to places because the obvious path is not so obvious in a lot of these terrains. So you end up going at things at weird angles and then finding the right direction to get there later. So it's just kind of, it gets a little tedious on that part. I mean, the gameplay's still great. Getting used to it again after having not played a game like that in so long, the game controls feel a little wonky in the beginning. I mean, you get reacquainted to them, but they do feel a little clunky now.
Huh. I don't know.
The game is still probably one of my favorite series.
It's the best game of all.
It's amazing. Just the story, the scope,
amazing.
the planets, everything about it. The interactions with the characters, their stories, you actually feel engaged with them.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling a meaningful story, not just an overarching story, but the individual characters you have on the ship have interesting and detailed stories. So I have very few. I have minor critiques on it, going back and playing it, but I don't have any major criticisms. You know what I mean? It's still as much fun, if not more fun now than it was then. So
Did you ever play Andromeda?
I didn't play Andromeda. I played 1 and
Oh.
2, didn't beat 3, and didn't pick up Andromeda. So I'm going to go through all 3 of the original trilogy, and then I may pick up Andromeda after I'm done.
Wait, I'm sorry.
I'm
You said
gonna
you
be-
never played it?
Nope.
Nick, you said you. Oh, you can just leave it that way.
I was gonna say, so if you do play it, I am extremely curious as to your opinion on it, because I will say probably my opinion of Andromeda is like your opinion of the first Toe Jam and Earl.
Wow, that bad, huh?
Yeah.
See,
you
my
play
main
it, Mike?
problem with Toe Jam and
Oh,
Earl
yeah.
wasn't the
Well,
fact that it wasn't.
let me put it this way. I tried to play it.
Oh, you didn't beat I beat that thing.
And you know what? You, sir, are a better man than I am.
I would have preferred it more if it was on the N64, but that's just Mr. Matthews in me.
That's fair. That's fair. See, my thing
Wow.
with Toe Jam and Earl wasn't the art style. It wasn't how the game played or felt. It was the massive amounts of RNG. That was my big problem with that game. That's what killed it for me. There was so much RNG in that game, and I don't do well with RNG in games. When you put me in something like a roguelike, any of them, even Hades, which is considered one of the best ones, I guarantee you I will get the crappiest build every single time I play it. And it will make the game almost impossible to beat. It's why I don't play games like that. I just don't have the right luck for it.
I would say if you're going to play Andromeda directly after you play Mass Effect, which you've beaten, right?
I've beaten 1 and 2. I have not
You've
beaten
never
3.
played. Oh my god. Okay.
So I need to go all the way. I want to go all the way
Jeez.
through 3.
All right. Well, if I had to guess what your reaction is going to be, I think Andromeda for you, if you're playing all 3 and then going to it, I think you're going to actually have a sigh of relief in like, wow, these controls feel incredible. Wow, this combat is really great. That's what you're going to feel initially, and then you'll need to put away any sharp object around you, because at multiple times while playing it, you'll look to your wife and go, "I'm sorry, dear, it's time for me to leave. I have to exit this world." And you will keep trying to jam everything in your neck as much as you can.
Is it the story or does the combat have like a team?
It's this. No. The controls are incredible. The action is great.
I will give you that.
Yeah, they got that perfect. It
yeah.
is the story that's terrible. The objective, what you would need to do is repetitive as
The
all
objectives
hell.
That's what got
Bland.
me. That's exactly why I stopped playing it. The story I could even like I can get over a weak story if the point A to point B through the story is at least somewhat cohesive and fun.
See,
I
find myself less tolerant of that in RPGs because it should be all about the story.
Well,
I will put up with bad gameplay if the story is amazing in an RPG, but I will not put up with an RPG if
It's
the gameplay is good
serviceable.
and the story is terrible.
The long story short, this story, this is not a plug, but if you ever are interested, on my channel, I do have a whole Andromeda thing that goes into a whole documentary on it.
Okay.
Long story short, it would have been great had they went with their original. If they were able to do what they wanted to do with this story, the idea was that you were supposed to be this colonizer. You were supposed to be able to go to all these different planets and all this other stuff. But since they had to scrap all that, the story no longer worked with what the game was. So the story felt very lackluster. If
That's
kind of
fair.
makes
That's
right. It's almost like if there was a story about you being a professional boxer, and it turned out that the game wound up just being that you were a spectator of a couple of boxing matches. Like it's just like
okay.
That's
very.
So I spent a lot of my time weekend doing that. I wrapped up a few videos, which I've got out today. I'm gonna try. I've got a bunch of scripts written up, so I'm debating if I'm gonna work on those or if I'm gonna work on a long form video that I put off because I just got lazy because I got sucked back into Mass Effect and it kind of consumed my whole world, which is what that game does. That's what it's very, very good at, and it makes it very hard for me to want to put it down. And it's rare I get that in a game these days. Usually I can play 30 minutes to an hour and I can put a game down pretty easily. Mass Effect is one of those I have a hard time doing that with. Spent some time hanging out with a friend on Sunday. I was going to do it on Saturday, but the weather got crappy here, and we were like, you know what? I don't really want to go out with my camera today. We'll do something on Sunday. So we had lunch on Sunday, and then I came back and got a couple things done. And I'm here today, hanging out with you guys. So we do have a fun topic for tonight.
Can I just interject real quick?
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say, because I was Mr. Matthews before, but now that I'm Panda Stuff 2000, I did want to say one thing I did do this weekend, which was I released a preview for my upcoming episode called Maniac Manor.
That looks great, by the way.
It does.
Thank you. So, yeah, I it's only just 1 minute of the 40-plus minute episode. So if you find that, entertaining, then there's going to be another 40 or so minutes when it's all done, hopefully in another month or two. So go check that out. I'd love to see what you guys think of that. That's all. That's what I did this weekend. Thank you.
And if you guys haven't checked out that teaser for it, you guys need to. It's pretty amazing. He's put a ton of work into it, and it looks phenomenal. I can't wait for the episode to come out because I think it's going to be super interesting to watch.
Thank you.
So we do have basically just to talk this week because we were going to do it last week, and a couple people were annoyed that I didn't make it his own topic, and I don't even think that person's here. I'm going to have to poke him on Discord.
Yeah.
41 extra geeky for 42, maybe. I don't know. How you doing, Eugene? It's always good to see you, man. So we are going to go into various different art styles, both past and present. We thought about them, what we like about them, which ones we'd rather see less of, which ones we'd like to see more of, and how they influence in the games, how they influence how we react to the game, and just all things about basically art styles in video games today. So I'm not going to do this in any particular order. I'm going to start with you guys, and then we'll cycle around to me on ones that you basically want to talk about, and we can go in as deep. We can just kind of bounce off of each other and the chat. I'm sure they'll have suggestions as well, because their chat is usually pretty freaking amazing on RetroRoots. So I imagine they're going to bring up some stuff that I didn't even think of. So
I can start off with a real spicy take.
Go right ahead, man.
Real spicy take as far as what art style I would prefer to see less of right now. Can I start with that?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, this is going to get some people a little upset. I would prefer to see a lot less of retro, pixel art. When they try to make games look 8-bit or 16-bit, for me personally, I just think that I'm always someone who always likes to look forward. I don't like looking backwards. So I would rather see people make new art styles, make something that we haven't seen before. There's all sorts of incredible indie developers out there doing some incredible stuff with artwork and ideas, fresh new ideas. So to always be going backwards, I just think,
by number.
Yeah, it just I don't know. It just it seems a little. I don't want to. Lazy is too harsh a word. I just think you're pigeonholing what your game is. You're just saying, okay, this is a throwback to another time. Well, we have those games. Let's try and do something kind of new. Why don't you take old mechanics from the 8 and 16-bit era, take some of those ideas and then expand on that. Do something refreshing with those ideas. That's what I would personally like to see.
So to play devil's advocate, don't you think they've done some really interesting stuff with animations and the look of pixel art in today's medium? Stuff like Blasphemous and some of those look phenomenal. Like there's something truly beautiful about that art style when done in a careful, meticulous way. Like some of it's generally just like 8-bit stuff that's been done, or just generic 16-bit with the same animations and look and feel of what we had before. But some of it they've taken it to a whole new level.
There's no so you're 100% right. But here's the thing I would say to you. How much would a young person respond to that art style? Most likely not. I would argue what we're seeing is, wow, I remember on the Super Nintendo or the Genesis, that would have looked incredible. Like that really reminds me of an incredible Genesis game I always wish I got to play. It doesn't speak to the youth. It just seems like it's just memory hole. It's just kind of talking to our group and just kind of going, hey, if we made a game back then, here's what we could have done with it. And I want to see them do something entirely new. I want to see things moving forward.
Yeah, but then you see games like Vampire Survivor that gets nominated for Game of the Year and is one of the bigger played games of 2022 by a different demographics, and you wonder, is that really the case? And I think the problem is that everybody's doing it instead of it being done sparingly.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's a little. I don't think it needs to go away entirely, but I do agree it's probably overdone at this point. And you're not the first person I've heard say that.
I just wonder.
Even a lot of people in the retro community have said that it's kind of overdone.
Let me just, before you guys can finish, I just want to say, I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm saying I think it's just done. It's overboard now. Like, next.
Gotcha.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not saying go.
No.
Some great games that are, like, I play a ton of them.
So, and to that I agree with you, because I think the flooding of it, there's always the saying, there's, too much of a good thing can be bad. I think it was great.
Honestly, Scepter, I will say this. I'm happy the market is flooded with indie titles. A lot of AAA titles feel the same now. And indie games will take a few more risks still. There's a lot of copycatting, like there is with everything else. But when you see something kind of clever or something kind of quirky and unique, like Gris, Flower, Journey, stuff like that, those are small projects that somebody wanted to do that give you something different. And you wouldn't get those out of AAA. So I'm pretty happy that the indie scene is where it is right now. I have no problem with the indie scene exploding the way it is.
Yeah.
Now, one of the ones that I would like to kind of see more of, or a game I'd like to see them do more with, that I haven't seen a whole lot of lately, and I need to check to see if it's got some updates on it, but I'm going to mute the audio on this and bring this in, because this game in particular is one that I would love to see more like this. Or just at least more of this game. This is called EX Zodiac.
Ooh.
Now, this runs great on both the Steam Deck. It runs great on Steam. This was in early access.
So this is a throwback to the N64.
Right.
Yeah, this is Star Fox style game.
It's just better animation,
better animation, right. But this goes away from what you were talking about with like the pixel art and goes more towards the 64 era, which is a kind of a unique art style in and of itself that you haven't seen a lot of until recently. Now you're starting to see a lot more indie-inspired titles that are kind of reminiscent of some of this stuff, which I think is, when it's done well and it's presented cleanly, I think it's actually a nice art style to have. Should it be in everything? Absolutely not. But this game runs great, plays great, feels great, and I think it looks fantastic for what they were trying to go for, which is a Star Fox inspired title.
Right.
Yeah.
But being its own game.
But what they are doing, which kind of speaks to the, going back to the 16 to 64-bit eras, notice it's all flat shaded polygons. It's all, and the draw distance is, trash, just like an old system was.
Well, that's intentional. I mean, they could have done
right.
better
That's what I mean.
Distance,
yeah.
But...
Yeah, I mean, the polygons are fading in as the old systems used to do. So, there is still a market for this look.
Yeah. And Myers is right. Pixels seem to be the default from a cost perspective. So that way you can cash in on current nostalgia. But it's amazing when they're done right and then they're integral to the game, like The Messenger. Yeah. So there's games like The Messenger and Blasphemous.
And what the Hunt Down. Like, I love that game.
Yeah, and games like that where you take care and you do it the right way, that's great. But there's plenty of games that just kind of slap an 8-bit coat of paint on it and call it a day. Because it's, in some ways, it's easier for them to do. I'd argue pixel graphics can take almost as much time as doing polygons these days, because you have to do it frame by frame. You can't do a polygon or a mapping and put it on a animated skeleton. You have to kind of do everything individually. So it can
Right.
be pretty time consuming. So it's a conscious choice, but it does feel like you could be a little bit more creative, let's say, rather than just jumping on the bandwagon.
You know what I'm surprised there isn't a lot more of is games like nowadays, is games like Out of This World and like Flashback or Flat.
Yes.
I'm
So
surprised
that was
there isn't more of that. now.
All right, so you took one of my art styles that rotoscoped, yeah, and there's a couple of games that try to do it, Limbo and Inside, in a little more modern take.
Okay, I can see where you're going with that.
They turned out not to be so much of that rotoscope view, but they kind of tried to take that art style a little bit. But I would really like to see, and I'm going to lump in the original Prince of Persia as well.
Oh my God, yeah. Good call. on that.
Yeah,
that-
see, that's another one that's kind of like pixel, but the animation details are done really well.
Blackthorn
And
too.
and honestly,
Yep,
if you're gonna go
Blackthorn.
pixel, as much as this game drives me crazy, the art style Earthworm Jim is beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
That was-
but it's
yeah.
So
not quite.
that blends like 16-bit and that cartoony look, and it makes something kind of truly unique, and that doesn't get utilized a ton. I feel like in that space.
No, it does not.
Hey, Mike, I hope you're gonna, because I don't want to stall this episode. I hope you can just know the game I'm talking about. There was an Xbox game that I was really excited for. They showed it in one of their like E3 things a couple of years back. Very cyberpunky, but it was like a 2D platformer.
Yes,
And then it got canceled. What
did it
the
get-
hell game? Well, I think the developer got canceled.
Oh,
And it was like Blade Runner meets Cyberpunk, and it was a total 2D platformer thing.
yeah, it was called redacted, restricted, shit.
Well, anyway, that game. Woo!
I
that I
don't think
was
that's.
super
I don't think
excited
that. I don't think that game's been canceled. I think that's
Oh,
still coming.
I would need to know what game you're thinking of because this one's like totally like the developer got canceled. Like I think he said something or whatever, and he got canceled. But anyway, if you can think of the name of that, I don't want to hold up the episode. But if you,
No,
That is a
really fun.
gorgeous
That's kind of
game to
what,
look
That's
at.
kind of what we're here to talk about. And I've already said one, so Mike, why don't you go?
I would love to see more of the old school cell shaded games, and I don't mean like cell shaded like cartoon cell shaded. Although I would put like Dreamcast Wacky Racers into this, but
Cell Damage, maybe.
Cell Damage, things like that. But what I'm really thinking of is if anybody remembers the Sega Saturn game Astal.
I
This-
do not.
oh yeah.
Let me see if I can
I
get
remember
you a video.
And by the way,
Sure.
Mike, it's called The Last Night. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay. So that is a different. That's a different.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
I do now. I thought you were. Now I know what you're talking about. I thought you were looking. I thought you were looking at there's another cyberpunkish game coming out called I think it's RE something something, and I can't remember what
I think I found
happened. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
See if I can
and
get
I'll
to-
send you a link for this one too.
Is this?
No, I know
supposed
the
to
game you're
be-
talking about.
Is this
So I'm
supposed
saying
to
it
say
could be
this-
fun to show later.
Oh yeah.
No, here we go. Here's the
I
game.
sent it to
Yeah.
when you're ready.
Oh,
Look at
I
this.
remember seeing this.
Yes,
Yes,
this was-
I remember you playing this one weekend.
I played this on one of my streams, but it's just this hand-drawn, beautiful cell hand-drawn. It's almost like a watercolor painting.
It's almost like the bird game on the 32X, the hummingbird kind of.
Calibri. Yeah,
Calibri,
Calibri.
right?
But just, I mean, this art style, and it's not even so much the foreground. Look at the background.
Yeah,
Look
no,
at-
it's almost
it-
like a hand-drawn kind of background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. Yes, Amuse. This is Sega Lord X's intro music. It's Astal. There's this and this soundtrack. We could talk soundtracks one day, but this just
Hey,
the
Muse,
background
Oh, Killer
of
7.
this.
Yeah, great call.
So yeah, this is
Killer
exactly
7,
Bob Ross made this background nice scepter. But that's what I would love to see more of. And I know there are games that have tried to do this a bit. Ori and the Blind Forest was a big one like this.
A gorgeous game.
Gorgeous
That
game. So I love these kind of drawing games. There you go. Cousin Boren says, imagine a cell shaded image of the three of us.
I can make that happen.
That would come up to that would go to no good. I promise you. So that one, yeah, I can totally see that because that's kind of in that mix of like 32-bit where you're still doing like some pixel animation. You've kind of got that's kind of a 2.5D polygon character on like a hand drawn kind of background.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for that.
I find
Absolutely.
it funny that the game that I, by the way, mentioned the last night, which that if there was ever a game like that could make me sexually excited, the last night, that game, that look, the irony is that it is pixel art. But if you see it, I gave you a trailer at some point, maybe show it. I think you'll get why I think it's doing something a little new with that pixel art.
Oh, it's yeah.
Let me bring it over here. Hang on.
Like I was so angry when they canceled this, or hypothetically canceled. This to me is like they nailed everything.
Yeah, I can see that because it is pixel art, but you have a lot of almost 3D motion going on with it.
You'll see when it gets to like the gameplay and stuff. It's pretty impressive.
So this one's not in development anymore?
So and don't quote me, it's been a long time. Understanding something happened with the developer, whether they ran out of money or they didn't like what he said, something like that. And I think it kind of fell off the face of the earth. It might come back at something like, look at how good this is.
See, you know what this reminds me of a little bit too is like the early Secret of Monkey Island with the way the animation works when he's moving around.
Yeah.
I mean, the gameplay and everything feels way more advanced, but some of the animation reminds me of some of that really clean, detailed pixel animation.
Yep.
And see, that's what I like about stuff like Blasphemous. I feel like Blasphemous does that same kind of animation really well. And that's what I mean by like, when you spend time on pixel art and you do the work, it can look as good, if not better, than some of the stuff we get today. Because like a lot of the stuff you get today, like you'll look at, say, like Forspoken, which is pretty, but in a very generic kind of copy-paste sort of way, right?
Yep.
Like they came up with a handful of assets and then they just repeated them. And they didn't take any care. They didn't take any time in really trying to build this world to try to make it look fun. And I was so eager to pick it up, though. As soon as I saw some of the gameplay on it, I was completely disheartened. Because none of the attacks looked good. The environments didn't look good. Everything that looked unique and fun about it was like gone. And I'm like, what did you do? I was really stoked for this based off the trailer because it looked like you had a lot of really cool motion options. You're going to have these powerful magical abilities. You're going to have all those fantastic characters in this great setting. I'm all in on that. You know, and then it looks like they ripped like half of that out, if not more. And then what little dialogue I heard of the protagonist, I'm like, wouldn't even want to spend 2 minutes with this character, much less 20 hours. I'm out before I ever even started. What the heck?
Yeah.
You know? So, from my perspective, I mean, that's kind of you have good and bad in all these mediums, right? And we're in such a unique spot now that all these things are viable, right? You've got people pushing fidelity to the umpteenth degree, and you've got people taking like these older graphics and anything in between and reviving them. Plus, you've got access to most of these older games. I mean, if you're okay with doing things illegally, you have emulation. Otherwise, you've got like the Switch and all these collections and everything like that that bring all these art styles back to kind of inspire newer generations, assuming they pick them up to kind of try them or they get introduced to them, right?
Right.
I think the one game that, for whatever reason, has maybe I'm crazy. It feels like it slipped, like fallen beneath the cracks. Like, is Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the most like Pixar-esque, gorgeous games.
That's a beautiful game. I still don't think it's as fun as the first one.
I'm
The
just
first
saying
one-
visually.
But visually, it's beautiful, and it's got a lot of fun gameplay mechanics in it.
Oh yeah.
And
But
Myers
how
brings
they
up a good
cram
point.
that in the Switch, I don't understand.
Dude, the Switch can do a lot more than people give it credit for when they work well with the limitations of the hardware that they have.
Yeah.
Nintendo's always been really good about surprising people with what their hardware can do when they take the time to do it. Third-party developers won't bother.
This is a great.
9 times out of 10. And this is a really good comment. It's one of the reasons
Yeah.
I put it up. Lately, when I say a new retro-inspired game, I've been thinking I should just play the retro games that inspired them, unless they do something unique and fresh with them.
I agree with that.
And
I
that's
mean,
a solid point. See, I never did the co-op in the Luigi's Mansion 3.
We should do that
I,
one day.
I just went through it like solo, and it was fun. The last boss was a little annoying.
Let's do it one day,
Right.
man.
I'm game for that, man. We just got to find time when we can sit down and play. We keep talking about playing a game, and then
Yeah.
neither one of us ever gets around to doing it with the other one.
Let me ask you
That's really what happens.
Let me ask you guys a question. Are you for what I'm about to say or against it? What would you say about if you took old classics? I'll take, let's say, Metroid, the first Metroid, and they basically redid it. Nintendo redid it with same pixel art, but with the horsepower that we have today, better animations, all the different effects that we can do nowadays. Would you like something like that, or would you like their time being spent on making something new?
I think it depends. And as far as remakes go, I'm getting to the point to where I would like to see people take a crappy game and make it good, rather than take a good game and give it a new coat of paint. If you're going to bring something new to the party, some quality of life stuff, some new levels, new enemies, new mechanics, and kind of put a new spin on it, then I think that's great. That's a new addition, kind of like Contra Rebirth and Castlevania Rebirth. Those were unique enough that I think they kind of stood on their own. Matter of fact, I'd like to see those re-released because I missed them on the Wii. And I've since seen them play, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had caught this. Right? So stuff like that, I don't mind. But I feel like we spend so many time remasters now. Like, just look at the last
God,
one.
yes.
It's been remastered 3 times.
It always reminds me of, like, I never understood when a band does a cover of a song and sings it identically to the previous artist. Like, I don't understand then why you did it. Like, if I'm gonna do a cover, I want to do a cover of a song I never heard of and try and put a unique spin on it, not just karaoke it, trying to sound like the original, music.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not all that doesn't always work.
And Scepter, you're absolutely correct. Metroid Zero was basically a remastering of the original Metroid with extra content after you beat the original part of the
Yeah,
game.
good call, Scepter. Yeah.
With more of the art style and power of fusion behind it. It was a deliberate revisit. And honestly, I agree with this. The NES Strider, I want to love that game, but that's a tough game to love. I like the art style in it. I think it's fun, but man, it's kind of rough to kind of sit down and navigate and figure out how to play. And honestly, seeing a cel-shaded Metroid, I think would be fun too.
That's actually not a
I
bad
don't think I've
idea.
seen a cell-shaded Metroid. That could be a lot
We
of fun.
haven't. We haven't seen.
No, that could be, and that would be an interesting. That'd be an interesting Metroid game. Now, would you need it to be 2D or 3D?
2D.
I think 2D is the way to go with a
If you went
cel-shaded
3D,
game like
that's
that.
confusing. Like that.
Yeah.
That it doesn't make like it worked beautifully for Zelda. Here, I don't think it would work.
Now,
Right.
if you did it kind of in the art style, like, have you guys seen the new Ninja Turtles trailer?
Yes.
I think that art style is actually kind of pretty. And
Yeah,
I think
can
if
see
you
that.
did like a 3D version of it with that kind of like art style, I think that could be a lot
It
of
just
fun.
doesn't fit Metroid though. Like Metroid is
Right.
not a cartoony
Where
Not
2D,
especially, but if you took it a little bit more gritty in the art style and made it more cartoon, more comic-esque, I think it could work.
yeah, I could see.
And
There's a
honestly,
game-
I really do like
Oh,
the
yeah.
remaster of DuckTales. I think that being cel shaded was beautiful.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
like how they got the voice actors in, and they added some things like save spots and extra mechanics, and they updated some of the mechanics on it. That game's still brutally hard. Don't get me wrong, I've still yet to beat it, but yeah, it's very clean. It actually makes it a little bit hard for me to get back to the original. And the original.
Well, they also got the controls better too.
Yeah, the original's not a bad game. It's just tough.
There was a game, though, and this is why I was wondering about Metroid doing it. There was a game that was out on the original Xbox. They tried to remaster it, and the OG Xbox version was so much better. 13.
Oh yeah,
That was,
the remake was crap.
the
It took
re-
away the
yes,
look.
yes. The remake was so bad that I actually streamed the original.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
it was far and away such a better game. But that art style, you don't think that could work for a Metroid type game?
No, because it doesn't. It just doesn't make sense with the vibe of Metroid. Like I think the reason why it passes as a 2D is just because when you think of 2D, okay, you think the limitations. Okay, so it's just a platformer, and so they're applying a little, a graphical upgrade to it. When you go into 3D and you're applying cell shading, it's just the vibe of Metroid, which is this dark, ominous sci-fi aliens feel. I don't know if it works with a poppy color palette of comic book.
You could almost take it like the one that we showed the trailer for earlier. God,
The
Last Night.
yeah. If you took almost that art style, made it more 32-bit, and put it in FPS, I think that might almost work better.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying
Because it's
the
got that
comic
kind of
book look.
broody kind of look that you're talking
Oh, yeah.
about. And here's one that's kind of all over the board that I thought was interesting on the Wii that I never picked up that I probably should have. But Back's correct also before I get to that. The Resident Evil remakes, 2, 3, and 4, they've overhauled the
great.
game so much
Yeah.
that it's like a new experience for most people. But let me put this up. This is called Mad World.
Yep. Yeah.
And this was
What
a
the hell is
bizarre...
that?
This was
You've
a
never
biz-
seen Mad World, Mike? I'm doing a whole episode on Mad World. That's
Oh,
been
I
in
need
development
to-
for
I'm
like
gonna-
7 years.
Oh my God! What system is this for?
This is on the Wii.
The Wii.
The Wii did... Everybody bags on the Wii, but the Wii did some really dope stuff. Graphically, there was some real risk taken on the Wii as far as art styles go, and this is one that it was racking my brain trying to think of it. All of a sudden, it popped in my head of Mad World.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like Sin City-esque.
Yeah.
The look.
Yeah, so art styles like this,
Well, it's almost. I'll be honest with you. It's almost like a.
this is the only game I've seen like this.
Okay, I see that
ever.
now. Okay, so there is some color. I was gonna say otherwise, it almost looks like a console Game Boy game. Wow.
If they do a Metro
I'll be
prequel
right
game,
back. I just
it's
forgot
like a
one thing.
Bayonetta prequel, they can use cell shading. I could see that. Yeah, I could see this, Eugene. If they do a prequel game, kind of like the Bayonetta prequel they did, they could do some cell shading if they wanted to on that one. But yeah, this is a wild kind of game.
Yeah.
But we had a couple of very risky games that were very not Nintendo. It came out on it. This was one of them.
And Mike, are you familiar with? Well, I forgot the name. Is it Okami? Yes.
Okami? I was going to bring up Okami.
Yep. Okami is a. Yep.
Pretty
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Okami
game.
is another one of those that's pretty beautiful.
I'm now trying to find this game that.
We thought was the Last Night.
Yes.
Okay. Because I
Because it's
probably
got
will love
that-
that too.
You will. It's got
Yeah.
that same freaking that same style.
Spoiler alert! I tend to react to cyberpunky Blade Runner-esque imagery.
Oh, this is
I can
this
see
is
that. That makes total sense.
Happened to make a
This-
show entirely.
And
No,
here's
this is
another game
completely
where
that
you guys
game.
are hunting up things. As I'm just kind of taking over things that I wish people would do more of. I heard the game wasn't that great.
Oh,
haven't
I
tried it
love
yet.
this game.
But Chris,
Oh yeah.
the whole
Love
idea behind this, basically, you're painting the world as you
Mhm.
play, and it tells a story by you painting the world and exploring
love
the
this
world.
game.
Is a beautiful idea from conception on. The animation is spot on. The color palette's beautiful, and it's rare. This is one of the few games I've seen done with this kind of palette, this kind of watercolor, almost pastel kind of color palette.
So there's a couple of games that are like this. One of them came out last year called Pentiment.
Oh, I saw you guys talking about that, but that one seemed more like a point and click adventure style.
It
This was
is,
more
but
of a
it is, but this
action
is
platform. But you're right; it has kind of a
no
similar art style.
the art style is what I'm really looking at.
Okay, I think Scepter's talking about Mad World. Yeah, it's probably one of
Replace.
the most adult
Aha.
games on there.
Here we go.
And
Now I
Amused,
found
are you in I saw this and I didn't bring it up. Are you in an Iron Maiden cover band? That's kind of dope. I've been getting back into
Wait,
them. I used to
wait,
listen to
hold
them a
on.
ton as a kid.
it. Who's in a Iron Maiden cover band?
I want to say Amused. Yeah, here it is.
Seriously? Oh, damn, Amused? Let's go.
I just now started getting back into them and picking up albums off of iTunes from them.
Oh,
and I
my
picked up a
God.
few I never owned. So I've been getting heavily back into Iron Maiden again.
Let's go.
That's dope.
Vocalist for 30 years. My man. Same here, brother. I've been singing. I'm actually back with my old big band.
You know?
You're actually in a Rammstein cover band, right, Mike? I just had your old synagogue. You throw out some old Rammstein
Yes.
songs.
Yes,
I love it.
every once in a while.
So this is one that Mike linked called Replaced.
This is one you're going to like, Panda.
Oh yeah, I already love it. If I start seeing some neon lights, I'm really gonna love it.
You are going to see neon lights. And
All
this,
right.
this is the game I thought you were talking about.
Oh yeah, this worked for me.
And it's
Yeah.
got that
And see,
got
this is
that
this,
flashback kind of look
Right,
to it.
right.
Yeah,
right.
it's got that kind of more modern pixel art where people are taking kind of more time with it. Now, one of the people that brought up, like, I haven't seen Vinny in a bit. He was in here a little while ago. Vinny, if you're in here, I'm sorry I didn't get to it. I brought you up your comment, but I haven't brought up Street Fighter 3 yet. I do love the art style on that one. And
Yeah,
you
this
mentioned
is
something about the
awesome.
super arts in, I want to say Second Strike.
Yeah, this is what I thought you were talking about.
Well, I gotta say they look. I mean, basically identical in a sense. It's the same kind
Yeah.
of look. Yeah. I just need to see a little bit more neon here. Just a little more. There we
There you
go.
go.
All right.
Where's your neon?
There we go.
But this has that
Yeah.
This
cyberpunk.
honestly reminds me of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's got that on it, but it really has a little bit of flashback.
Yes. Replace. Oh, okay. Is this an
Yeah.
Xbox game? I'm gonna get that.
Yep.
All right.
As I don't want to sully the conversation, but it's day one
Day
Game
one
Pass.
Game Pass. All right. Well, we'll have to talk about it because that game looks awesome.
It does look awesome. It's definitely on my day one to play list.
Is that going to be on the One X? Do you know? Or is that a Series X only?
So it's series console only,
And then
But-
streaming.
but the cloud streaming. Remember, you
Okay.
can cloud stream
Yep.
to the One X.
Yep,
So
okay.
And to bring up another one that had a really good pixel art style, since we're kind of in that vein,
Oh, 3.
Three's
Street Fighter.
just I can't
Yeah.
say enough good things about the art style out of 3.
yeah,
The way it played, how clean it was, how tight the animation was. They really.
Do you all
spent a
get
lot of
secretly
time.
excited when you see Chun-Li's thighs, or is that just me? Is that
No, it's not just you. That's any.
not
That's
just
any.
you.
That's any guy with a pulse. Yeah, that's any guy with a pulse.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's that in that same art style. This is the more brighter aspect of that kind of art style, which I thought for this particular game worked really well. I would
Oh,
not
it's
mind
gorgeous.
seeing them go back to a similar art style to this, for another game, like another throwback. Maybe
Totally agree.
Revive an Alpha series or something. Which
Well,
Alpha had
so
a nice
Alpha,
unique
I was going to
style
say,
on its
that's,
own.
I was going to bring up Alpha as a game like this that,
I thought this looked better than Alpha personally. Alpha had a more subdued color palette, and I thought Three's color palette and animation was just a little bit better. But Alpha 3 especially was really good.
yeah.
Yeah, Darkstalkers had some amazing and
Oh, yeah.
Darkstalkers
Good
was a little
example.
stiffer to play than 3, but the animation and art style on that, I would like to see Darkstalkers make a comeback. I thought that was a great series.
Yep.
That's just not
So
really managed to make a comeback, and they tried. I want to say during the 360 era, and they threw it on the Xbox Live Arcade, and I don't think enough people bought it to garner interest in it, and a lot of people like me just missed it entirely.
You
Or
ready
did-
for another? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go. I've just been putting things up because you guys hadn't.
You ready for another
As you're
spicy
linking
take?
stuff and throwing stuff, I've been bringing it up and we've been talking about it.
I got another
Yeah.
spicy take, though not spicy, but definitely controversial. I think controversial. If we're going to bring back any kind of quote unquote art style, I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I'd actually like to see actors done right in games, right? Like when we had Mortal Kombat, when you had like real human actors, I would like to see with modern technology that look again, but using all real people, if that kind of makes sense. I would love to see what that
They've
looks
tried that with a few games to limited success.
like. Yeah, but which games? Because I can't think of
Well,
it.
I mean, there was the Mortal Kombat series. Obviously, there was Pit Fighter. There
Yeah, but
was,
those are. But now I'm saying. bring
Oh,
it
not
back
now.
Now
No, I don't think anybody's
Yeah.
tried it with a modern.
there's a
spin.
guy. Do you? I don't know if you. This is. I don't know if you're gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. There's a very famous arcade somewhere out in America. I don't know. Very, very big arcade. A lot of YouTubers have visited there. That owner of that arcade is making a Mortal Kombat-esque game. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Because I'll look it up for you guys later if you have no clue what I'm talking about.
I don't.
I'm
but
drawing
a
I'm
blank.
intrigued.
Anyways, that guy is doing it, and it looks incredible. The downside is that he put no money in those actors, and so it looks all pretty crappy. But visually, it looks fantastic. I will get that later for you. I will not eat up time as I figure that out.
It's fine. Like I said, we're just going into different ones, and obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Cuphead, which is
Yes.
probably
Oh, it's like one of the
painstaking.
best.
And
Yeah.
if you want to go into fighting games that are like that,
That, by the way, is not my keyboard this time. That's Nick's.
no, that one's mine.
I think it's
This
the galloping
uses a
ghost.
similar art style to Cuphead in a way that not a lot of people caught into. This is called Skullgirls,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember Skullgirls.
but this almost has that kind of almost Cuphead-esque, but not to the same extreme, with that kind of noir look that I thought is a really unique take, particularly on a fighter.
I'm just not a fan of that particular kind of artwork, but it is pretty.
Yeah.
It's that particular kind of look. I'm not a fan.
You're talking
of.
about this one or Cuphead or both?
No, Cuphead is gorgeous. This particular art style of this fighting game we're looking at, I'm not a fan of that kind of art. But if you were, this is incredible. Like that's
Yeah.
it's.
I
well
just
done.
like it because it's unique. I don't
Yep.
often see a fighter with this particular art style, and I was reminded of it because of Cuphead.
Yep.
It is fluid in its own way, and it's kind of rough, but it depends on the character you're playing. Some of them are a little bit more smooth than others, but it's meant to be like a more older time animation where you might be missing a couple of frames here and there when you're doing what you're doing. So yeah, I can see that. To me, it seems smooth enough. I mean, it's no Guilty Gear Strive or anything like that, but you don't get you're just now starting to hit games where you've got that. And Guilty Gear Strive is kind of its own thing because it's both that cell shaded animated look they've always done that Atlas is really good at, mixed like almost 3D effects and stuff to bring something kind of really new aesthetically to the table on a tried and true methodology of what they've been doing. Who was talking about Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball?
No, he's wondering
that's a
if
fun game.
yeah, those physics are chef's kiss.
I honestly had fun with the volleyball and the Extreme Beach Volleyball.
It was good. It was.
I didn't care for many of the other mini games. So the jet skiing was kind of fun.
Yeah, no, it was. It was the two volleyball games you would not think were really solid gameplay
I know the other one
wise.
you're going to talk about, Outlaw.
Yes, sir.
I knew it was going to come up.
But they are completely technically sound games. The gameplay on them is fantastic.
By the way, real quick, the game I was talking about is called. You don't have to look it up. It's just a game called Dark Presence. Have you ever heard of Galloping Ghost, the arcade, the very famous arcade?
No.
Well, anyway, so that's the story. I found out the name. It's Galloping Ghost, and the owner of that arcade is making a Mortal Kombat-esque game with modern technology, and that game is called Dark Presence. So if people in the chat want to go look at that, they can.
Yes, after some hardcore versus fighter players, too many frames of animation. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's a pain. Sometimes it's not. It just depends on what you're going for in the particular game and the flow of combat you want. I've seen longer frames work in games and look really, really good, particularly when the speed. Like, you can have that number of frames, but if you're running it at a certain like FPS while you're doing it, you can make it look fluid and quick. I've seen some really, really fast, fluid animations. But you're right. The more frames you add, the more tendency it has to slow down a little bit. And some people like fewer frames because they can execute things more quickly.
Is there any games that, I had at the top, I had said what games, I think we're seeing too much of with a certain art style. Do you guys have any games that you're kind of tired of seeing, or
anything Call of Duty? I'm very tired of Call of Duty.
That look?
On the whole. That look.
Okay.
The game itself, everything about it.
Okay.
World War II shooters in general have been overdone for ages.
Mm-hmm.
To the point to where they're just like, oh look, it's another World War II shooter. And even when you put it in modern, it was more fun when they first introduced modern warfare. And then even that kind of got old after a little while because it was just kind of copy and pasting assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's Paste. Sorry, Paste. I tagged you in chat because I was like, wait, I think he's missing it.
Let me ask you this. What game can you remember when you were a kid? What game really visually made you go, wow, like that is a noticeable jump from what I've been playing. This seems
well. So not that I was a kid, but it's it's the next one I was going to bring up is that next link I put in the chat.
Okay, let's see that one maybe.
And a lot of this is FMV background style.
Ooh,
but Nick, you see it?
Which did you send a link?
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Oh, wait, hang on.
It's the last one in the private.
I would love if you accidentally sent a Bromstein cover bit.
Oh, I had this up a minute ago. I think I accidentally closed it.
Oh, did I accidentally submit this?
Hang on. Let me bring this up. I've seen these. I've seen the first one of these. Yes.
Yeah. I love this art. This was a game, and this is the second one, but the first one was the one that really wowed me.
Sure.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is like FMV, but like fully controllable. And again, this goes back to some of that art style from a stall where some of this looks a kind of hand drawn, but on top of. I don't really get hand drawn out of this. I get Toy Story, but this was before Toy Story was really a thing. But I mean, it's sprite based, which is amazing.
It's Donkey Kong Country era-esque.
Okay, there you go. You go.
It's very much Donkey Kong Country. And I would say Donkey Kong Country is one of those that when it hit was just kind of like, wow.
Oh, that was a huge wow.
But
And
there's
for me, I think
there's
they stole
another
it.
one, and you guys are gonna kind of laugh. Well, you probably won't, but you're gonna laugh that I like it because I randomly bag on Sega. But God damn it, I hate it when people do that. Here we go. This I thought was
absolutely. This is one of the
just-
best of all time.
just phenomenal, and it's not playing for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Sega.
Sega.
But Comic Zone, I thought was a
yeah.
really unique take, and it's just not wanting to play for whatever reason. I have no idea why.
This is actually the game. You control a spinning white circle. Your tasting games, Nick, is atrocious.
Well, you know, you have points. They're not really valid points, but you have points.
I love
But I love the fact that you were in a comic book. You were moving between different cells.
Yes.
This game was not easy until you got used to it, and then it got much, much better to be able to deal with. You just had to get used to the quirks, and this is not going to play for whatever reason. I have no idea why.
I got to say, you're also glitching up a little too, Nick.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah. Mike, are you seeing that, or is it just me?
No, I'm seeing it.
It's
Okay.
probably me. I've had so many windows up, and I've been doing so much stuff that it's probably just starting to cause me issues. I need to close out of some things to make sure I get some memory back.
You know, incredible game that I'm sure most of your viewers will have never known. There's an amazing adventure game, point-and-click adventure game called Toonstruck. Are any of you guys familiar with that?
Yes.
That's with Christopher Lloyd of Back to the Future fame, and it's basically like Roger Rabbit. It's a Roger Rabbit kind of point-and-click. Obviously not Roger Rabbit, but you get the idea. Beautiful, beautiful game. I can't recommend that enough if you're ever interested.
You know, let me get a link on it, and I think I did it on my channel. So give me a second.
There you go. Yeah, if you click that and just jump to any random part, you'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. That way, people could kind of a little bit. Assuming it'll play. There we go.
Yeah. See, it's Christopher Lloyd. And he's in like Roger Rabbit world, basically.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like this I love. I'm real big on stuff like this. ActRaiser I need to pull up as well, because ActRaiser I thought was pretty phenomenal when it first came out.
Sure.
That was a great game.
Paladin's Quest.
I don't remember.
That's
Paladin's
very
Quest.
familiar.
Why Kim's pants from? Okay, I'm gonna have to pull that up before I look that up. That
Kim's
just sounds
pants
lewd.
from SNK.
I just gonna have to look that up before I put that on screen. That sounds lewd, Vinny. You're gonna give me trouble.
All right, something along those lines I just put in the chat. That is a newer game, or at least in the last 10 years, and one that.
Yeah, Big Block says Jet Grind Radio, another great.
Oh yeah. And that's coming back.
Oh, you're talking about SNK. Okay. You're talking about a fighting game character. All right. That's in a lot of different styles, though.
Real quick, Scepter Sever says not a lot of point and click games anymore. That actually, then you're going to be pleasantly surprised if you like that genre. There's actually never been more of them.
There's more than you think now.
There's tons.
You have to hunt them down in the indie scene.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. You just have to know adventure game. There's tons of them. Like there's more than you could possibly imagine. It's just if you're not in that world, then you'll never have known that they exist.
So in case you.
Oh yeah, this game is great.
Yeah, this is really pretty.
This
King's
is
Quest.
Yes, from the Odd Gentleman.
Was this the remake of King's
Yes.
Quest? Is that what this
And
was?
That's not a remake. It's
a new game. It's just in the. This was an episodic, smaller game, but it had Christopher Lloyd in it. And since you mentioned Christopher Lloyd, I remember how great this game looked. This was one of those kind of hand-drawn, cel-shaded type games.
Yep.
See, I have been like Secret of Nim or the original Hobbit animation.
Yeah.
Style, which I like that animation style. They've shied away from it since then because it was a little too dark and real.
Oh yeah, Nim was pretty dark.
Oh God, yes.
Secret of Nim was very dark.
Right there with Watership Down.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
So that movie scared the crap out of me.
Heart of Darkness. Yes.
Yeah.
Sever.
The thing about this game, that developer has gone silent, and I really wish that they pop back up and either do a sequel or get to one of the other Quest series.
Yeah, I don't know how well King's Quest did for them. Those point and
I
click
don't
kind
know.
of games are tough to.
It's hard to get noticed for
console
them,
market.
and it's hard to get people to pick up on them.
Well, and that
'Cause
one
they're
wasn't.
so used to quick jump in, jump out kind of games that a lot of times they struggle with games like this.
That wasn't point and click.
No,
the
I know
same
that, but
way.
I'm saying
Right.
it's still part of that same. It's that same Quest kind of idea
Yes.
of inventory
Yes.
story. The gamers on consoles typically are less likely to gravitate towards stuff like Chain.
Yeah, and this is where I'm going to give a little bit of props to Game Pass. I think Game Pass is making some headway on exposing more console players to various different game types like this.
Mhm.
Because the advantage the PC players have had is this stuff's been on PC since the inception of PC, stuff like
Mhm.
this.
Right.
And so PC players lean more towards trying stuff like that because they're familiar with it. They're used to it. And Steam does a very good job of putting this stuff on like ultra mega sale, right?
Mhm.
Like so cheap you wonder how anybody's making any money off of it at all
Mhm.
kind of sales.
Well, and
And so people will pick it up.
one of the reasons that I am kind of crossing my fingers and pushing for the hope that Microsoft does acquire Activision Blizzard is because one of the things that Phil Spencer said that he really enjoyed and Activision owns is Sierra. And that could open the door to some more of these new
Honestly,
Quest
yeah,
games.
that would be great. Well, they've already put some of those on there, like Full Throttle's on there and a couple of others.
Yep,
Full Throttle's
Double
not
Fine.
necessarily the best example of a point-and-click game. It's not terrible, but
but
it's a bit of a struggle.
Day of the
even
Tentacle.
I struggle to get anywhere with it and have any fun with it because I'm
Full
sitting there
Throttle, man, you are not good at adventure games. That's considered one of the easiest
Is
adventure
it?
games of all time.
I got-
Literally
I got-
the easiest of them all.
Dude, I
Yeah.
got to like one part and I literally could not figure out what the hell.
Are you talking about the driving sequence?
No, this was before the driving sequence. I was like, I want to say it was like some sort of. I'd have to play through it again and see where I get to it on it. But I could make it through like Monkey Island 1, Monkey Island 2.
Okay.
I struggled with Monkey Island 3. I couldn't get into Grim Fandango. I wanted to love it, but I kind of struggled
Grim
with
Fandango, in my opinion, is way overrated.
I kind of liked
Which
it
is
though.
blasphemy, and that's.
I know. I kind of liked it.
Well, you're not alone. Most people consider it the greatest adventure game of all time.
did- it
I'm
just-
not. I'm not
I just
suggesting
struggled
that.
to get into the story. It was clever, but it felt kind of slow and plotting, and it was having trouble kind of pulling me in.
Okay.
And point and click games are all about story, right? I mean, the gameplay is kind of secondary to the story.
Try Blade Runner, man. That's one of the best.
You've mentioned that one before, and I do need to try that one.
You know, you can get this in the Scum emulators, but
Scum VM.
I have to say one of my all-time favorites.
I know Clay Fighter was a claymation game that came out around that time because it's on N64.
Yeah, Clay Fighter. That's what
Clay Fighter. It came out on Genesis too.
So it was like Skull Monkeys. Was great. If you're familiar with Skull Monkeys.
Indiana Jones.
Mike, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Indiana Jones and the
Fate of Atlantis.
Let me look that up. Hold on.
One of the best.
Bar none. And when I got the CD-ROM version that had the actual voice, and I'm like, oh goodness.
If you get the Wii version of the Emperor's Tomb of Indiana Jones, you can actually play the point and click Fate of Atlantis on that.
Can you really?
Yep.
Now I didn't even remember that. Do you remember the cover?
Yeah, the Neverhood, right?
And in retrospect, yeah, this is the Neverhood.
Yeah,
this is
and Skull
really
Monkeys.
Nice
mm-hmm.
But yeah, stuff like this.
You can get these games. I know it's on PlayStation. I'm confident it's on Xbox.
Oh, I just mean more things in this art style.
Oh, sure.
It's a pretty underutilized art style.
Well, if you want to see a game,
try to do claymation.
No, not at all.
But I mean, like Yoshi's Woolly World, I thought was a good example.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Little Big Planet. I feel like Little Big Planet kind of started that movement of
Mhm.
trying to do that kind of more yarn-like
Yeah, a
art
crafted
style,
look.
the crafted
Mhm.
look.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo took and made a bunch of games off of that, like Kirby's
E-
Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Woolly World.
EA made one too.
Yeah, the yarn. There's those 2 yarn games. I forgot the name of them.
Um,
Where you're literally a yarn figure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unraveled.
Yeah, that's it.
And then when I was looking stuff up, Limbo came up. I'd say Little Nightmares.
Little
was-
Nightmares is incredible.
I think Little Nightmares has a great art style.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. One second.
Matter of fact, I'll pull up Little Nightmares while he's away. But this is a very pretty art style. It works great for the tempo of the game. It's very foreboding. It's kind of brooding. Your character's a little bit more bright and colorful, so she stands out in the environment. But this is at its core, a puzzle platformer game. You don't really have any way of like doing combat, so you have to kind of figure out how to navigate through the room and survive.
Oh yeah, this looks nice. See, this reminds me a little bit of a game like Limbo or Inside.
Yeah, it was very. Limbo was very much kind of a little bit like this. This came out after Limbo. I can't remember who exactly made this. But yeah, it was very much like I think Limbo had already come out and then this came out. And there's been 2 of these. I've played through a little bit of the first one. I really do need to go back and like finish it because it's a cute game, but it's one of those where like you're gonna get stuck for a while. You're gonna have to look something up to kind of figure out where you're going. So once you figure it out, it's not the execution isn't the problem. It's figuring out what you have to do is the main problem with these kinds of games.
Well, these games are all about trial and error.
Right. Inside was the other one I couldn't think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inside and Limbo and this were all kind of around the same time, and they kind of played off of each other's art styles a little bit.
Yeah.
They all kind of had their own take.
Inside was nuts.
I thought Limbo was really pretty. Just the fact that you're playing with like just basically shadows,
Mhm.
Yep.
I thought was a great idea to use in an art style.
Well, Scepter asks that he's surprised that Limbo and Inside are not on modern consoles, but they are. You can play.
Yeah.
You can play them on Xbox and PlayStation. The new ones.
Song of Iron. Let me pull this up.
Oh, Song of Iron. That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I'm familiar with this one. Yeah, that's great.
If I can get it to play, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, this sort of reminds me a little bit of the same that similar vein, but it's got its own more detailed take to it. But it's doing a good job of playing with the shadowing and silhouetting in the game.
Well, it goes. This particular just happens to look a little Limbo-esque, but it does get a different style as well. You know, it gets brighter and stuff.
And for a more modern take, Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh my God,
That game's just stunning.
Yeah.
Oh,
And with the different art styles that you can pick on it, because you can pick the actual more old time Japanese film grain, black and white kind of look.
Mhm.
Giving you those different options, I think was a brilliant idea too.
I played that entire game in Kurosawa mode.
See, I
with
wanted to play in the
Japanese.
regular mode because I wanted to see all the colors. I'm honestly was playing with a friend and we kind of stopped playing it together. So I'm going to pick up. I want to say the definitive edition or what it was for the PS5 and start playing it on my own because he wanted to do that one on our own and start something different at his place. And I'm like, that's fine because I would like to do all that on my own anyway. I was planning on going through it a second time on my own at one point anyway. Have a good one, Amuse. Thanks for popping in, man. I don't know if we're going to like
And
really...
go check out his cover band, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cover band, right?
I don't know if we're going to stick around too much longer because I want to spend some time with the wife tonight. I want to talk to these guys after the stream. And I want to get some sleep because I didn't sleep good last night. The last time we had a stream of the three of us, I think it was up until like 1 a.m. and I can't do that tonight. I was too tired. It was fun, but man, I need more sleep than that. Holy crap!
You know what I'll tell you? Are we ever gonna get they dabbled in it. I don't know if we're ever gonna get 32-bit era throwbacks. We seem to be kind of jumping past that awkward
They seem to be
phase.
jumping to 64. You're right.
Yeah, because it was such an awkward phase.
Yeah.
Well, I gave a couple of examples, but what else really in the 32-bit era stands out that isn't that would
See,
be
32-bit. I'm sorry, Mike. Continue.
Well, no. So you might be answering my question. Go ahead.
I don't know, but to me, the reason why 32-bit is such a tricky thing to go back to is it reminds me of like Atari graphics, that awkward phase where it was at a point where where the Nintendo that look fleshed out the characters where you could go like, oh, that looks like a plumber and he's running and there's a mushroom. The Atari was too much imagination. The 32-bit era was so much like people were just made out of like square polygons and like, and cylinders that it all looked like the MTV music video. I Want My MTV. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. I remember. Max Headroom type stuff.
Yeah. Money for nothing. And
then you checks for free.
They looked like that. So I think that's why we're skipping it. It was just a time period where things, you couldn't really make out shapes well. People's faces were just flat. Where 64-bit and on had more detail.
So we have a question with Tears of the Kingdom coming out. What's the best Zelda art style?
Wind Waker.
And my hat in the ring, it's absolutely Wind Waker. It's the most unique. Now, when they did it on the DS, I didn't particularly care for the DS games. I played and beat Phantom Hourglass. I could never do the flute parts for Spirit Tracks, so I just kind of dropped Spirit Tracks. And I thought the art style took a hit on the 3DS. It was a little too grainy. Mm-hmm. This is pretty much the height of this art style. And I know this got a ton of hate when it first came out. And the reason it got hate is because they showed originally a more
adult Zelda.
They showed a more adult Zelda, more in the vein of Ocarina of Time. And that's what people were expecting. And then they got
this went to the kiddie image that they were tired of Nintendo going to.
Right. And people got pissed. But if you talk to anybody now that goes back and looks at this game, this stands out more than almost any other Zelda as far as art style.
And the GameCube version is arguably better because the Wii U version, the problem is that it added awkward shadow and light, that it made it less flat. It made it look too 3D-ish.
I would say from a gameplay perspective, I like the Wii U version better.
Oh, it's much better.
So I'd prefer to play the Wii U version if I'm to go back and play this game over the GameCube version, personally.
I agree.
Now, is the second best one, I think, out of the ones that I've played, that I think that sticks in my mind is probably Link to the Past. However, Link's Awakening on the Switch, that more toy art style, is
that's
really
my number
unique
one
as well. That one's pretty dope.
I love that toy look that they had.
Yeah, I thought that was a great way to take it. Minish Cap. Yeah, I need to try Minish Cap. I've got copies of it.
I think it's on Switch Online, I think.
Okay, Wicked Waltz and Maiden Immortal. Okay. So if you guys haven't, Amused has got Wicked Waltz and Maiden Immortal on YouTube. Those are some of his bands.
All right, I'm looking them up. Maiden Immortal. That's a good name.
I imagine that's the Iron Maiden cover band.
Oh, someone said Einhander. Did you see that? That was
yeah, I saw that, and I need to bring that up. I saw that other question first, but I need to bring up Einhander because that's a great look on a game. That was Vinny. He brought that up. Is this the Einhander? I guess it is. I get Einhander and other things confused with each other. And Vinny, you'll have to tell me if I got the right one here. Let me go ahead and bring this up, and hopefully I'll play one.
How many possible Einhanders?
Wow, that's a little... Oh, I'm getting jerky again. I'm running out of memory. I'm going through things so quickly. It's taking a little while for my for everything to catch up because I didn't record any of this. I've just been pulling it up and streaming it. Anything that and the bandwidth of everything else I have going on is kind of killing me. Ah, no.
Man, now I need to see which one of these guys is amused that's in this picture.
Oh, I think I would know because I on Twitter, I believe he's shown his
Has
image.
he?
Yeah, if you could show me, if you send it to me privately, I think I could probably tell you which one.
Well, hang on.
There we
can I-
go. It finally.
cause-
It's, oh no, I didn't smooth out. Wow, this is getting really bad.
Oh, hang
tonight.
on. Oh, I see him. Okay,
All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a little bit because I think it's just eating up all my memory.
there. I think he's the lead singer. Nice. That is cool.
There we go. I can't just keep the stream up and then move from thing to thing. I have to
Ah,
get back. I
yeah.
keep my memory back.
No
Stream
one
it-
is
It's killing.
no one is
StreamYards.
worse than Chuck. When Chuck, when Chuck, DJC to everybody else, when DJC has like checked his email, you'll know it because everything in the stream just stops.
I think it
Completely.
has to do with the fact that I never stopped showing this. I just hid it from the people's view. So I'm streaming it and it's going through StreamYards too. So it's kind of like streaming a stream.
Yeah, you're.
And so
you're
it
hitting-
just started eating up like bandwidth, and now I'm still
Yep.
freezing and everything too. So
Well, now we're catching
it's
up.
still, it's still catching.
Yeah.
Still having some issues here. I
That's
didn't-
crazy because when I do my live show, and there's a lot going on in those live shows,
I don't know.
I have
why.
no problems. I wonder if it's an OBS versus StreamYard issue.
I think it is a StreamYard issue.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It must
StreamYard's
be like
been
a-
a little funky. They've done some updates, and it's been acting a little weird. So I'm not gonna lie, it's eating up way more resources. I may end up just having to start figuring out like OBS and just doing it that way.
Big Luck says the freezing gives you a new art
New
style.
art style, saw
New
that.
art style. Yeah, there you
Saw
go.
that. Yeah, Twilight Princess is great. I'm not going to show anything up on the screen because I'd like to actually be able to move in frame for a little while. I've got a bunch of like windows open right now too. I didn't think this was going to be as intensive as it was. Otherwise, I would have closed more stuff down. So
Can you guys think of one developer in particular? Naughty Dog. Every single, whom I love, but every single game of theirs, no matter how photorealistic they'll get or they aim for, it has a Naughty Dog look.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of another group out there where every game just, no matter, even if it's
Insomniac.
Okay.
Id and
yeah,
Insomniac.
yeah, good call.
Id, I would say id too. Yep.
Double Fine.
Oh sure,
They
Oh,
didn't
sure.
have a pretty key art style, particular like
Ask.
a lot of it.
I don't. Double Fine though.
They do variety.
Yeah, because Psychonauts 2 doesn't look like anything they've ever done.
It looks a lot like Psychonauts to me. I mean, it's a more modern take on it, but it looks a lot like Psychonauts to me.
But it's not the same as the rest of their library.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with that.
Well, and they also did Rad, if I remember, and that game looks nothing like.
Atlas. They did a lot of the Dragon Ball Fighters Z, Guilty
Well-
Gear style. They do a lot of cell shaded animated fighters.
Yeah.
And they all kind of have a similar vibe, but it's all this kind of cell shaded like anime look, right? With different character designs. Capcom to an extent will stay pretty consistent in series. Like a lot of the Street Fighters kind of flow into each other, except for the new major overhaul in style. And now Resident Evil looks radically different than other things, but early Capcom had a lot of similar looks.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at like Mega Man and Chip and Dale and DuckTales and all those, they were built by similar people. I don't know who owns Atlas. Arc, maybe Arc. Yeah,
Atlas is owned by Sega.
I'm thinking of.
Atlas is owned.
I'm thinking of for fighters, not Atlas. But Atlas
Yeah.
also has its own unique style with the Disgaea and all those. They seem to have a very similar style there. Working designs and aesthetic, even though I didn't really. I don't. I'm struggling to remember working designs. I know the company.
Working. So
I looked them up. Yeah.
Oh no, I know. Okay, so I know all about working designs.
I'm just
really?
struggling to
Do
remember
tell.
their stuff.
Oh yeah. So Working Designs did a lot of localization, U.S. localization for Game Arts games from Japan. So if you played Lunar the Silver Star Story, if you played Grandia, if you played Magic Knight Rayearth, you were playing in the U.S. It was Working Designs. They are Game Arts games. Working Designs was owned by a guy named Victor Ireland. And the reason I know Victor Ireland is because in my days of doing IRC chat and kind of not forums, but kind of internet forums before forums, Victor Ireland had a big fault. So they were a big Sega. They worked very heavily with Sega until Bernie Stolar. And I tell you, Bernie Stolar
There's
pissed
not a
off
lot
Victor.
of love lost with Bernie.
So, which is funny considering where Bernie came from.
Didn't he come from Sony?
Yep. And he did some things right, but this feud he had with Victor Ireland. Victor Ireland used to come into our forums and call Bernie Stolar every name in the book, and pledged that after the Saturn, because he did a lot of Saturn stuff, he said Magic Knight Rayearth is our last Saturn game, and he went to PlayStation, and that's why you saw Lunar the Eternal Blue and other of Working Designs games go to PlayStation and never go to Dreamcast. It was one of those. And we used to argue with Victor. We're like, dude, I think you're taking this a little too far. And he goes, no, F that guy. I'm never gonna work with Sega again. And it was no Victor. Victor was kind of an a-hole, and well, so was Bernie to an extent.
I was about to say, Bernie was a tough dude to be around during the Dreamcast era, because he was basically just coming in to chop everybody's head off. That was literally what they hired him for.
It was a crazy feud, and I don't. It's weird how it happened. And it's funny because at the time so Bernie worked for Sony, and I think this is where it started. Bernie worked for Sony, as Nick said. And when the PlayStation and Saturn came out, Victor Ireland talked to both of them. Bernie didn't have any interest in putting what he would call non-action games on the PlayStation. And that's why Working Designs went to Sega, put their games out on the Saturn, because at the time, Tom Kalinske was still very much an RPG fan, so they went there. Well, Stolar came to Sega, and
mostly because Kalinske left because he couldn't get through to Sega Japan anymore. He got fed up with them not listening to him.
Yes. And there was this whole thing about Bernie Stolar shoving him in the back of E3 and their own out of the way. But there's this whole it was crazy.
Yeah, Sega made a smacking amount of missteps.
Yeah.
Letting Kalinske go was a big one. Not listening to him post Genesis era was a
well. That's right. Him leaving, they didn't fire him. He was like, I'm out of here. But yeah, not listening to him. We've beaten that horse to death.
I know, and we could beat it some more as far as I'm concerned. Just oh my god. Anyway, So yeah, um, we've talked about this for an hour and a half. We may actually revisit this at some point when we've got some more ideas. But we have managed to fill an entire hour and a half. I thought we might have to BS a little bit more than we
We
did.
did it.
But yay, we did the thing. So I think we're probably going to start wrapping this up a little bit. Mike, what do you have coming up on your channel this week?
Tomorrow night is the NLG show. Brother back from the dead is going to be on with us tomorrow night.
Oh, very nice.
I don't know yet how we're going to top last week's show.
Which I happened to be on. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish I could have listened to more of that. I was sitting listening to Nicole, and I'm like,
oh no, you don't.
this is probably going to be really. I need to go back and
Dude,
watch the replay.
I knew it was tense, and I said it was, in all kindness. I'm just saying I knew it was a little tense when I had made the dumb joke of, well, I played the game Redfall. I played it on the PlayStation 5. It's not on PlayStation 5 at 28,258 frames per second, and a certain panelist who was a little upset on the matter. You could just see like that joke was just like a little too much for the moment. you know, I'm like, oh, what have I gotten myself into tonight?
Yeah, Redfall is a hot topic.
Yes,
with,
it is.
with a lot of people, and I'm not going to get into that here. We could do a whole show on broken promises and video games.
Dude, just watch the last original Next Level Gaming episode. I think it's covered.
Dude,
Yeah.
I swear we could do an entire episode on promises developers and companies have made in gaming that have not come to fruition, and not even touch on a certain console that has not come out yet, and fill like 9 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
You missed a good time, Nick.
you missed
I
it.
don't feel like I missed anything.
The best.
No. You missed this. Scepter's being kind. He said,
Nick,
people
the
were
best way
testing.
of describing what it felt like. Have you ever walked in on your mom and dad having a really large fight, and you just had to grab some milk? Just like, oh, I'll just like. Just get that
Just try
milk.
to tiptoe around everybody.
Except you have to get the milk for 2 hours. That's what it was like.
Oh
Wow.
my God! Oh, and then Panda attempting to enter the conversation as best that he could, like he tried so much to.
I could kind of tell there were times where they're just harping on the frame rate, and Panda's just like kind of looking at it like,
No,
just don't care.
No.
I
Oh
just
no.
don't care.
Oh no! It wasn't Panda doing that.
Yeah.
No. Oh no! What you think about this show is not what happened. You
That's not what happened,
you just need to see it.
It's a good old time, Nick. You just got to watch it for all.
It's a good old time. I am happy to report
Everything is well.
everything is well.
of course.
Everybody is still on the show. Nobody has left. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. However, that you may not want to watch tomorrow's if the news breaks that is supposed to break, and that is the CMA is supposed to make their final decision either tomorrow or Wednesday about the Activision Blizzard thing.
God, every time I hear C, M, and A in a sentence now, I kind of
We're-
vomit a little.
We're almost at the end of this stupid nonsense.
You've been saying that for like 6
No.
months.
No. The deadline for them to make this decision is tomorrow.
Mike, is there any indication that it's not going to Microsoft? Like, isn't that just
the CMA has been the FTC is so stupid.
I blame you for getting this on my show.
Yeah. No, I a month ago I would have said maybe. I don't see how it doesn't happen at this point. But that's all I'm gonna say. If this breaks tomorrow, it's gonna be the main topic of the show. If not, I don't know what the hell we're gonna talk about.
And then that'll be one that I just skip because I'm so tired of hearing about
You are welcome to skip it. But if that news breaks, we don't have a choice. That's what
I know.
we cover.
I know. And I'm
So-
happy I don't.
Then maybe tomorrow can be Redfall 2 again, like Super Alpha Hyper Edition. And- Do
We're
it
now
again.
up to 35 frames a second because it's turbo.
Right.
Nick, you've watched The Office, right? Like The Office does awkward really perfect. Just take that awkward feeling of like Scott's Tots, if you know that episode, and just make it for 2 hours.
We
All right.
even tried to do a wheel spin
Yeah.
for our in the middle of it, and couldn't even get past. We almost couldn't even get through the wheel spin.
So we know what Mike's going to be beating his head up against tomorrow. Do you have anything else going on throughout the week? You usually doing streams on like Thursday.
Yeah, we're starting to get back to doing some co-op streams on Thursdays instead of just me
HTK
streaming.
was streaming tonight. I saw he was streaming Dead Island 2
Dead
tonight.
Island 2. He's been doing Dead Island 2, and yeah, I've been kind of keeping that up on the other monitor.
I'm kind of on the fence with Dead Island 2. I don't really don't like zombie games, and I really didn't get into the original Dead Island. And parts of this look interesting to me, and part of it just looked like Skyrim to me, which is Skyrim's combat never looked fun. You click and and that's it. This is the engagement you have.
There's a Dead Island I didn't like, but of course Dead Rising I loved. And Dying Light, not Dying Light. What was the other zombie game that Techland made? Oh man, hold on. It was
I'm trying to think.
Dying Light. It is Dying Light.
Okay. I was about to say Dying Light was the only other major one I could think of. I was struggling to think of another one.
So no, I was thinking Evil Within, but that's Evil Within. No, Dying Light. So Dead Island is made by the same company and is in kind of the same vein as Dead Island, but with a little bit of a bigger world and a little bit of a different story. So I'm curious of that. I will say that if I forgot Jedi Survivor comes out.
Yeah, that launches this week sometime, yeah.
So there's going to be a stream on that sometime soon. That might be Friday.
Yeah. I'll probably end up I usually end up missing most Friday streams unless I just have all my plans get canceled. Because I usually have like standing plans with a friend on Friday, so I don't get to catch a lot of the stuff that people do on Friday. Which is a pity, because there's a couple of people that usually stream stuff on Friday that I'd really like to catch. They do some really good stuff. Omega Ace Gaming usually does some stuff on Friday. Moz and Power sometimes do stuff on Friday. You guys do stuff on Friday. There's a bunch of people that there's stuff out there on like Friday evening. For a while, Omega Ace was going through like all the Mortal Kombats, and that was a lot of fun to watch.
I was just laughing because Big Block was mentioning the Scott's Tots episode and saying that and that he actually, to NLG's credit, that he actually found Scott's Tots to be a little bit more harder to watch than the NLG episode. So, do better, Mike. Do better.
So what you got going on, Panda?
Well, thanks for having me on. As always fun. Always a joy to be with you two gentlemen. What am I doing? I'm continuing to work on Maniac Manor, which again, I'll remind you, there's a 1-minute preview of that episode on my channel, Panda Sub 2000. Take a look. It's that episode is going to have, as you can see, kind of horror elements, action elements, you name it. It's a 40+ minute episode when it comes out. So I'm still working on that, and we're actually filming a couple more things for that now. And I'm also working on a couple of podcasts, which Nick, I will talk to you a little bit later. That I'm prepping to be doing to help ease in the long wait for this episode. So that's what I'm doing right now. So again, check it out.
The link
check
is just down below. I put it in the main chat.
Thank you.
You guys should go check that out. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
You want to color coordinating all your cams? I didn't even think about that, but you're kind of right. So I had a video drop today, Moments in Gaming History. I wanted to go into the CRT TV. It's one of those. Every now and then I kind of just go into like tech and stuff like that. So lately I've been kind of weaning off of like arcade games and going more into like tech stuff. And CRT was a big jump, which was pretty much responsible for the video game industry. And I thought its Inception was actually quite cool. So that was the moment that dropped today. I have an N64 oddity for you guys on Wednesday that I thought was just kind of bizarre and quite interesting. So that'll show up on Wednesday. I'm going to finally get some more recording done on some stuff I've just been putting way off. And I've got a couple other scripts written on a couple other things. So I'll continue kind of plugging away on things.
Is that N64 oddity about the Donkey Kong 64 needing the jumper pack?
The memory. I already did that one.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't see that.
I already did the expansion pack. Yeah, that one's already up on the channel.
Did you do that based on what happened with Donkey Kong 64?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did it based on because it technically didn't actually need that, but it was
right. It was a bug. It was a memory leak, I think. Right? Okay.
There was some other reason for it. The bug actually got fixed before it ever hit, so it didn't actually need the memory pack for the bug.
Wow.
One of the developers talked about that.
That's why you should all be watching the Geek Storian, because you won't have bad information like I did. Look at
that. But on this bit of a spoiler, I'm talking about the biosensor. The SETA biosensor. So there was a biosensor on the N64 that would read your blood pressure.
Nice. What happens if you have high blood pressure? Is it always just say you're dead?
It only worked. It only worked on like one game. But they sold it separately from the game that it came with for reasons I don't understand. I couldn't quite figure out why. But yeah, that'll be out on Wednesday. I thought it was kind of cool. I mentioned it to a couple people, and they're like, oh, yeah, I know all about that. And I'm like, really? Because I didn't know this thing existed.
That's funny. I know they always wanted to do that with like the Wii and stuff. I didn't know that they had it on the N64. It had to be a Japan.
It was a Japan-only thing. Absolutely. It never made it to the States. A lot of the weird stuff that I find is stuff that they tested it out in Japan, and it didn't market well in Japan either. And
dude, if it's too weird for the Japanese,
then it's too weird for the States.
Then it is way too weird.
Yeah, it's way too weird for the States. I agree. Absolutely. So those are two things that I have coming up this week on this channel. Again, I'm going to be kind of working on things on the sideline. I did a little bit of work on trying to do some things just to kind of help workflow-wise and stuff like that I think will make things easier on my end, not necessarily make things come up faster on the channel, because I feel like things come up fast enough on the channel because I've got at least 2 videos a week, which is a lot. And it may be that I eventually pare down and just start trying to work on like big videos and maybe one small video a week and get more larger videos out there, because that would be nice to do, because I feel like I'm getting buried in the weeds in the small ones and I'm not getting to the larger videos, which is something I'd like to do more of.
Dude, whenever you're having a bad day where you're like, man, I just am not getting that video out fast enough, just remember that I have literally been working on Maniac Manor for literally 5 years.
Dude, let's be honest here,
5 years.
Let's be honest here. The work I have to put in for a video, the work you have to put in for a video is
it's still stupid, dude. I had to get the beard color because I have to match when I filmed it 5 years ago.
I saw that.
That's why I'm even growing my beard out again. Like, oh crap, I gotta film that scene. Damn it. So just whenever you're having a bad day, just at least you're not working on 5-year-old footage.
Mine isn't so much that I didn't have time. It's just that I think about doing it, and then I go, I really want to play Mass Effect. And I end up going with Mass Effect.
But that's good, man. That stuff is good.
So that's kind of what's been happening lately with it. It's not that I couldn't do it. It's just that I really, really wanted to play my game. So that's what I did. So it's more me being lazy than anything. So anyway, thank you guys for popping in, hanging out with us. Spending time with us.
Absolutely.
It was a joy to have you guys in chat. We love all the suggestions you guys give us. We love all the feedback that you guys give us. And we're always thrilled that you guys come and hang out with us for a little while. So till next time, happy gaming, guys.
Play on, gamers.